educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
I thank y'all very much for tuning in today. I think I have a kindred spirit with me today. But this gentleman, his story is one of grit, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to excellence, and a journey that has helped shape him into the person that he is today, and one that he can believe that can inspire others to break barriers and achieve their own extraordinary success. He, like myself, was raised by a single mother, and his early life was filled with challenges that could have easily held him back. But he was born with a learning disability, which made school and traditional paths more difficult. But instead of letting those challenges define him, he chose to push forward. And he knew that hard work, determination, and a belief in his potential would be his ticket to a better future. So that is just a gist of his background. And some of us can relate to these type of circumstances, these things that, or these labels that people put on us where we seem as though we can't overcome. And today we're going to talk about the idea of resilience. I thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Never Work podcast. I'll present to you Roy. Roy, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Roy Kirchner. I'm a serial entrepreneur and own quite a few different businesses. So definitely excited to be on the show with you today.
So here's the reason why I didn't go into all that, Roy, because I believe it's going to come out in your story, right? Yep. So why would you go from the sales floor, right? The idea of being in a sales floor to now a CEO, especially when, again, these ideas of you, these labels that have been put on you over life, over time, over situations. Why would you want to become a CEO? You know, why not just stay on the sales floor and not do anything else?
Yeah, so I think God has a path for all of us. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky enough, you know, I graduated high school with a 4th grade reading level. I couldn't hardly read or write. And I was put into this, that I was put into this area in my head that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to be anything, but I was raised by my mom, and I knew no matter what, my mom just did anything and everything for me to give me as much as I possibly could. And no matter what, I wanted to make her life easier. And so at 18 years old, I graduated high school, knew I was never going to go to college. And I found myself lucky enough to stumble upon, I had detailed cars at this car dealership when I was 16 years old for like 2 months. And I was in Walmart one day and I'm checking out, and the guy behind me was one of the sales managers at the dealership. And he goes, "Roy, what are you doing with your?" And I was working at a restaurant, and he goes, "Man, why don't you come sell cars?" And I ended up getting into the car business, and I just, like, the most important thing people said is just get people to like you. And I was the kind of guy that I'm just genuine. Like, I literally felt that it was my mission to help you get a car. So I was the guy that was different. I wasn't the car salesman. I didn't have that car salesman mentality. I had the ability to create a rapport with somebody, to get them into a vehicle and to help them. And it you know, when I started, I somebody would come in to buy a car, and the first person, he owned a dry cleaning store. And next thing you know, he's like, "Roy, guess what? You got six weeks or 6 months of free dry cleaning." You know, couple hours later, a guy comes in, he's a plumber. He's like, "Roy, man, I hate buying cars, but dude, you took such good care of me. Your pipes burst at 3:00 in the morning. I promise you, I'll get out of bed and I'll come fix your pipes." You know, and then, you know, later on that day, a guy owns a restaurant, and he goes, "Roy," he's like, You got a nice date? You want to bring her in? You want to roll out the red carpet? I'll take care of you. So I got to a point with people that were buying a car that I wasn't selling them a car. I was creating a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I got smart in one way. One thing that people do when they come in and buy a car is they fill out an application.
Mm-hmm.
They fill out an application saying where they live, how much, like what kind of house they have, how much their house payment is,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of job they have, what kind of money they have. And I found people that I just looked at when they're buying a car and I said, wow, you're successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, guess what? We need to play a game. We need to pretend that I'm your kid,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to promise me if I sell you a car, you're going to bring me to work one day like I'm your kid, because I got to see what you're doing and how you're making all this money, because I want to be that successful. And I found mentors. I found people that mentored me, and I found a true mentor that said, with all the disabilities that you have, Roy, you're not stupid. You're not stupid. You just have hurdles to overcome. And he really put this mindset. And I had the mindset because I knew that I wanted to take care of my mom. But I had this mindset that I literally wasn't going to stop. But I found something so lucky that I want people to realize life is short. And you gotta find something that you truly enjoy doing every single day. That is the most important thing, like, is love what you do. And it's not a job then, right? Like when I was selling cars, I wasn't selling cars. I loved what I did. So, selling cars, you worked nights, you worked weekends, you worked a lot of hours. But to me, it wasn't like I was working that. It was, I was building up mentors. I was building a Rolodex of people that I knew that were going to guide me into the person I am today.
Right.
And I love that. And I looked at it as I come from humble beginnings, but the most important thing was, like, we all put our pants on the same,
right,
and I truly, I'm truly that way, man. Like we're all the same. And, I think that's the biggest thing that I found is, if you find people that that you want to become, right? You look at them and they're successful, and you show them that you really want to become successful, and you'll do whatever it takes. And I was that guy. Like if I found somebody successful, I didn't take no for an answer. Like, this guy came in to buy a car and he was really successful, and I said, I gotta be you, and you gotta show me how to be you. And he tested me. He's like, well, come to my house and help me do this, and then I'll give you some information. And next thing you know, like, I'm helping him dig a ditch, you know what I mean? And he's really testing me. But what I knew, bottom line, is he wanted to see if him spending time with me was worth it. And he found out real quickly that spending time with me was worth it, because I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's how I started young, and it's do whatever it takes. It's that grit, it's that resilience, right?
Right. So Roy, at such a young age and all the experiences that you had, did you even realize that you were building your business from the very beginning? And I'm saying that because here's the reality. You were building relationships from the beginning, and that's all a business is, and so I'm hearing this one attribute, this character piece, or whatever, however people want to categorize it, that you were building your business from the very beginning and not even realizing it.
You're absolutely right. 100% correct. Like, I was building what you call now is your personal brand, like who you are. What people think of you and what you are. And I was the guy, and this is interesting because I was raised by a single parent mom, but there was a time when I met my dad, and my dad sat me down and he looked me in the eye and he says, you carry my last name. And he was not a normal kind of father, but he goes, you carry my last name. And I'm going to say it this way, and it sounds strange to a lot of people, but he goes, I'd rather you be dead than not live your life with integrity, moral values, honor, and respect. Okay. And this was at 15 years old. And I didn't know what that meant at 15 years old. I didn't know what it meant, but it ended up, like you said, taking moral values, honor, respect, integrity, and literally you figure out what that means even at a younger age, right? And it was in that time, my dad wasn't around, but that one speech changed my life forever, because I realized what those were, and I realized that you carry your name, and that's all you got in this world. And if you destroy your name, if you destroy who you are, and you don't do what you say you're gonna do, who are you? You know what I mean? So it was that way at the very beginning. Of mine, and like you said, it cultivates who you are for the rest of your life.
So again, at this young age, you're building your business, right? And you're finding out who you are. And I'm harping on this at this very moment, because a lot of times in today's date or today's society, we're copying other individuals. We think we have to, in order for us to be successful, we got to be someone else, and we're unable to find out who we really are, being our authentic selves, and understand the true value of who we are and what we provide. So how were you, even in that conversation you had with your father, because that could be a little intimidating, right? And that's intimidating for some of us, but how were you still able to find that value in yourself, regardless of what he said, to move forward? Because a lot of times it's hard for us to figure that part out.
I think it's, I think what you're saying, and is I knew I wanted to become something. I knew that I came up very humble. I wasn't what you call, a lucky sperm. Like, there's people that are just born and their parents are rich and they just give them everything. I knew that I didn't have it, but I knew that I wanted to become more. It was something within my head. And I think anybody can have this. It's doesn't, I got it at a young age, but anybody can have it. I think the biggest thing is realizing that being different, okay, the word being different is a great thing. We're all different. We all are different, and you have to use every single thing that you have that you're different to outline who you are, right? I'll never forget, like, I held a meeting once, with one of the companies I had, and there was a guy that was like a minimum wage employee in the back. Like he wasn't a manager, he wasn't an upper level person, he wasn't even a middle person, he was a lower person. And I asked for information on how to make the business better from everybody. I wanted everybody's input. And this guy was a minimum wage guy, and the things that came out of his mouth, like, literally made me drop my mouth. Okay. Do you think that guy stayed a minimum wage guy? He just needed to be recognized. He had something that ended up doubling our business, right? In a month. Like, the information that he was saying, and everybody else was looking at him like, dude, why are you in that position? You need to be in a different position. So I think it's anybody, right? I think it's realizing that life is short and take the ability to become more, but it's not easy. Like, it's not easy. Like, it is a lot of work and a lot of pain and a lot of effort. But at the end of the day, you got to remember, if you're not going to do it, then what are you here for? What are you here for? Like, there's only one person we answer to, and he's up there, right? And he's giving you this ability. He's giving you this ability. You just got to push yourself. You got to push yourself and find people that you can surround yourself with that are going to bring you up and that are going to have positive outlooks in your life, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, is don't try to copy somebody. Like, don't try to be like match somebody. Try to see that person has more and find a way to get there, and let things guide you to that next phase, to there. I had it the other day, just off of LinkedIn. I had a young girl ask me, how do I find a mentor? And I said, give me a call for like 15 minutes. And I explained to her that it's finding a match. You have to find somebody that wants to pour energy into you and wants to pour knowledge into you. So it's a combined match, but you got to do it right. You gotta put out your hand, and you gotta talk to people. You gotta network, and you gotta ask people for help. And I think in today's age, that's the biggest thing is like literally go to networking, find people that have more, and don't look at like they have more, look at that they can guide you to be more, right? So
I'm a backtrack for a second. That story of that person you were referring to. Hey, that this guy should not be in this position, right? There's two things that I heard in that story. The two things are, one is opportunity, recognizing the opportunity and taking advantage of the opportunity. But number two, for you to be in the upper position is to letting go of your ego and understanding the opportunity. I think it's a two-way street. You get what I mean? Because a lot of times as CEOs, we don't hear the people that quote unquote are underneath of us and what value they bring. But even those that are underneath of us don't understand that, hey, I have the opportunity to talk above me, that my value, that I have value. So there were two things that I heard, being opportunity and ego, that a lot of us have to deal with one way or another.
Yes. And the thing that I want to say is, I learned in my life, right, and who I am and who you are as a person, to be humble and to constantly be a life student, to learn, to understand that I don't have the answer to everything, right? And yes, I'm a CEO of a company, but there's one thing I don't like in this world, and I don't like the word boss. Okay. I am a leader of a team, and I have a team around me. Okay. I never like that word boss, because I'm not a boss of anybody. The only person that is higher than me is the man upstairs. Right. And he is my boss. Right. But I don't boss anybody around. Right. I'm a leader of a team, and I want to recognize with my team, right, who people are, and give them the opportunity to shine and become more. So I think, like you said, it's finding the opportunity. If you're in what you call a dead end job, or somebody that's not that way, then yes, you need to switch. You need to switch, right? It may not be, entrepreneurship may not be for you, but you better find somebody that wants to recognize who you are, and see who you are. I was talking to somebody the other day too, that they're in a job and they feel like they're stuck, and they said, Roy, what's the best piece of advice you could give me? And she's like, I think I want to leave. And I said, well, let's turn it around. Let's do a 180. Okay. I want you to write a letter of intent to your boss, or to your CEO, or to your manager. I want you to write a letter of intent. I want you to say to them that you feel like you're not moving ahead and you have so much more to offer. So I want you to turn it around and say, you have so much more to offer, that you've been with the company this many years. You feel like your day is not fulfilled, that you could actually take on more, that you could do more. And she's looking at me like, wow, I never thought about doing that. And she's like, I was going to leave the job. And I'm like, no, turn it around. Write them a letter of intent that you want to become more, that your day is like, it's not fulfilled. Like that there's more that you could do, and give that to your manager, and then let them see that way, instead of walking to them and say like, I don't feel like I could become more here. Like you're doing it in a completely different way, right? That can turn a different result, right? And it has turned results differently for people. So I kind of like that, and I'm glad I'm being able to say this on here for people to hear, because it's switching it up. It's doing it that way. And then if that manager really cares about you, and also he may not know that your day is like you could do a lot more in your day. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great way to look at where you're at and where you need to go. And if that outcome's not great, then you need to leave that job. They're not realizing who you are and what you're capable of doing. But I would start out that conversation is a different conversation, giving somebody a letter of intent and writing down what you've done for the company, where you're at, all positive things, and just saying that you want to be, you want to become more, and you want to move up, and you want to be looked at differently, and maybe they will, like you said. I would look at somebody differently that wrote that to me than somebody that walked in and say, well, I've been here 2 years and da 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 da. You know what I mean?
Right. So I think in something like that, for me, my own perspective, it sounds as if that individual should have been empowered and changing or transforming the culture of the organization and or that manager. Sometimes we don't see something as simple as that, how we change the culture of our environment. Because as you stated, we now change our mindset, which can now change everyone else around us. So I think that is a key point that we don't practice very often.
Correct. Absolutely.
But Roy, I thank you very much for coming on. And if someone else need to reach out to you, find you because they need this idea of resilience, of how to change the atmosphere that I'm a part of, how can they reach out to you and find you?
Yeah, definitely. Look me up on social media at Roy Kirchner, RoyKirchner, and just follow me. You're going to hear tips and different things that have guided me to where I'm at in this world. And like you said, I think us, helping other people is one of the most powerful things that we could possibly do on this planet.
Right. So Roy, before I let you go, I got to ask you my world famous question. I ask everybody my would you rather question. So Roy, would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road? Even though I already know the answer, but which one would you choose?
I'm all about options, so I go 3 doors, my friend.
Now, beyond just having the options, is there anything else more to that? Just the options?
Yeah, I think it would excite me to know what's behind all 3 doors.
So, and here's the reason I'm asking you, because I did have a guest that I asked that question. They said 3 doors, right? And so they said, those doors are glass. They're plastic. I can see through them. I can see everything that's behind them. Remember, I said no parameters, right? So, so you could have imagined those doors being anything that you wanted, I'd still
pick the 3 doors because you got 3 options. And then if you can see through them, you know what's underneath and you know which one to pick before you even open it. So there you go.
Right. I mean? But Roy, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, no problem. And of course, y'all, thank you very much for listening to That Will Never Work podcast and all the stuff that Roy talked about today, his website, social media, of course, will be in the show notes. And I will talk to y'all a little later.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?